Hello everyone, and welcome to Alien Movement. I'm your host, Andrew Meadows, and this is installment number 2 of my new podcast. I actually have been very pleased with the response to my first podcast, which was called The Launch. And quite a few people on Facebook, likes, Twitter. I've had a couple of people contact me, email me, and I've been very pleased. So I'm hoping to continue this and spread the word and get more people interested and look for lots of feedback. A little bit of housekeeping. The website is www.alienmovement.org. You can find me on Twitter at alienmovement1, the number 1. On Facebook at alienmovement.org, which is www.facebook.com/alienmovement.org. My email address is andrew@alienmovement.org, and this podcast is coming to you from Spreaker. You can find me on Spreaker at Alien Movement. I also set up an account with Patreon. That's www.patreon.com, patreon.com. The name is Alien Movement. I wanted to go over a couple of things. I did some posts on Facebook and Twitter. I posted the article that I found on BBC about a star that was recently found with 7 Earth-like planets. It's called TRAPPIST-1, TRAPPIST-1. It's a star 39 light years from Earth, and scientists have found 7 Earth-like planets orbiting the star. They're all similar in size and composition and could contain water. Of the 7, 3 are in the habitable zone or the Goldilocks zone, and these discoveries are just going to keep on coming. We're just in the infancy stages of planet discovery, but it's so exciting to keep finding these Earth-like planets. And if you listen to my first podcast, The Launch, I talked a lot about the staggering numbers. And I encourage you to listen to that and listen to the numbers that I shared. And I think these numbers are conservative. But there are just estimated to be hundreds of billions of habitable planets out in the universe. And I know what I wanted to say. So I had somebody who listened to my podcast write me on Facebook and send me a link. It's some kind of object. It's a video of an object out in this above the water, and it looks very similar to the objects from the movie Arrival, the one that just came out recently. And it's like a minute-long video of this object hovering out there, and I don't know if it's real or it's not. But it's pretty cool, and somebody posted on this other person's Facebook, "Relax everyone, it's just Jesus wrapped in his cocoon." And I thought, this is exactly the kind of thing that keeps our movement held down, is people mocking our beliefs. If that person mocked anyone else's belief of any kind, religious belief, they would be ridiculed. But with the ancient alien theory, with belief in life on other planets, it's like open season to mock people, to make fun of people, and come up with these stupid comments. Anyway, it made me a little bit angry. I understand that people are just the way they are, and some people will never believe. But that's exactly the kind of thing I'm trying to fight against. And, people will say, well, if there are aliens visiting Earth, why don't they just show up and land on the White House lawn? Well, these things have happened thousands of times. It just keeps getting covered up. The government just keeps denying. The military just keeps denying. All these things are used for technology, and everything is thought of as a potential weapon or a potential upgrade over our competition or our enemies. And so they're not going to release any of this stuff. But it has happened over and over and over again with witnesses and with physical evidence. And the government just comes in, the military comes in, swoops it up, says it never happened. And that's why we don't have the evidence. It was there and then it was gone because it was taken. Anyway, so I'm on a little tangent there. If you didn't listen to my first podcast, again, I would encourage you to. I basically summed up what the movement is, which is not something that I created. This, in my opinion, it was created by Eric von Daniken when he wrote Chariots of the Gods, which created a worldwide phenomenon. I listened to George Norwood, and exactly what he said is exactly what happened to me. He said, I couldn't put it down. I was enthralled. I read it cover to cover. That's exactly what I did. And it made so much sense to me. So I talked about that and what the movement is, which is a group of believers. It's getting bigger every day, who's trying to push forth the ancient alien theory and to get the absolute recognition of the existence of intelligent life throughout the universe and bringing that recognition into the mainstream consciousness. The only way we're going to ever get full disclosure is if enough people in the world are okay with it, that the governments finally say, okay, we're not going to have a mass panic. We're not going to have civil unrest. It's okay now to go ahead and disclose. So that's my goal, is to just keep pushing forward with sound theories, with facts, and stay away from some of the weirder stuff because that just discredits us. It doesn't help our cause. And stick to more, and I used these in the last podcast, things like the Phoenix Lights, things like the Roswell crash, things that actually happened for a fact with witnesses, the Phoenix Lights videotape, and even the governor who mocked the story at the time 10 years later came out and said that he really regretted doing that and that these lights were not of this earth. You can Google that, the Phoenix governor, Phoenix Lights, or excuse me, the Arizona governor, Phoenix Lights, and his basic recant of his mocking of the situation at the time. So that's what the movement is, what the purpose of the movement is, for full government disclosure. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. I think I'm going to do 2 podcasts a week, probably Monday and Wednesday nights, maybe at 8 p.m. like tonight. I do have to say, once Gotham starts back up, I may have to change Monday nights because Gotham's my favorite show, and it's super awesome. And then that's really the only show I watch other than things like NASA's Lost Files. I can't think of the name of it, I'm sorry. Hangar 1, Ancient Aliens, and I also like What on Earth, that satellite show. That's pretty cool. But I do love Gotham, and that's on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. The new season starts in April, so until then I'll be probably doing Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m., and I may switch it up as we go forward. I announced it on Facebook and Twitter that I was going live tonight, and I'll continue to do that. And so just keep posted. And also, please feel free to write me, like me on Facebook, like me on Twitter, write me on Facebook, or write me at andrew@alienmovement.org, and I will respond. I appreciate the support. Like I said, one guy wrote me on Facebook that link to that cool video, and I thanked him. I thought it was really cool, and I appreciated it. I also put up another link of some university in New Zealand. I believe it's Auckland University, University of Auckland, something like that. They came out today with new numbers on the number of planets in the universe. I'm sorry. I'm pulling it up now. So Astronomers estimate that there are 100 billion habitable Earth-like planets in the Milky Way and 50 sextillion in the universe. So on my last podcast, I said, let's assume, well, we know there are 100 billion stars in the Milky Way, and let's assume there's one planet per star. So you may be saying, well, wait a minute. If there's one planet per star and there's 100 billion stars, how could there be 100 billion habitable Earth-like planets? Well, apparently, they're coming out and saying there's a lot more planets per star than you think. Anyway, 50 sextillion habitable Earth-like planets in the universe is 50 with a bunch of zeros. Just start counting zeros and keep on going because it's a lot. But from my earlier podcast when I talked about the numbers, and I talked about our solar system having 9 planets, which I count Pluto as a planet because it has 5 moons. There are 9 planets, 146 moons, and another 27 moons awaiting official confirmation. So that's like 180 planetoids in our solar system. And so I guess this study that came out is saying there's a lot more than one planet per star in the Milky Way galaxy, which is the only way they could come up with the theory that there are 100 billion Earth-like planets in the galaxy. Obviously, there would be a lot more than one planet per star for that to be the case. And remember, the stars and the sun are the same thing. You could call them all suns, you could call them all stars. One of the things that holds us back is the differentiation of our solar system. We call our sun a sun, and all the other trillions of stars in the universe we call stars. Our sun is a star, and all those stars are suns. It's exactly the same. I wish we never called our sun the sun. We should have just called it a star, and that may have, subliminally helped people understand that our star is not different than all the other stars. Our solar system is not different than all the other ones. Our planet is not different than all the other ones. So, enough rambling. Tonight I want to talk about misunderstood technology. And this is something that Georgios Tsoukalos talks a lot about, and he explains it very well. And that's another thing that just makes so much sense to me. Whenever we read about things from the past, from the Mahabharata, from the Bible, from Egyptian writings and Sumerian writings, they're always talking about fiery chariots, flying dragons that are spewing out fire and smoke, flying snakes, thunderbirds, and that the people inhabiting these things or flying around in these things are gods. Well, back then, let's talk about 5,000 years ago, they didn't have words like rocket, extraterrestrial, spaceship, flying saucer, what else? Laser beams. They didn't have words like that. They didn't have concepts for things like that. They didn't have the vocabulary. And so when they saw something flying around in the sky, they didn't say like we would say, like, oh, there's an airplane. There's a helicopter. They would say, what the heck is that? That's some kind of flying dragon. The gods must be angry with us. And the people that got out of those flying dragons were thought of as gods. But what they were really saying is, these people came from the heavens. And this is something Eric von Daniken said. What if we replace the word heavens with outer space? So here comes a guy in what we're calling a flying dragon that is billowing smoke, that's roaring like thunder, that's spewing out flames, and it lands, and some guy gets out, and they say, well, this is a god from the heavens who just got out of the belly of a dragon. Well, if dragons were real,